Prufrock Part 4. This is just a little follow-up and doesn't directly relate to what I was talking about last time, which was really the nature of these questions. But the references to thin had actually bothered me before, but I just thought, Sam, let something go for once. They will say how his hair is growing thin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. I was having a random chat with my daughter about something and thinking in relation to something we were watching on telly. And it was about the little boy and fat man atomic bomb development. There are different explanations as to how those names arose, but the little boy was originally called the Thin Man, or was an abandoned project and the little boy was developed. I can't quite work it out. I'm too tired to read it all, but I'll just read from Wikipedia. The Thin Man was a long, thin device, and its name came from the Dashiell Hammett detective novel and series of movies about the Thin Man. The Fat Man was round and fat, so it was named after Caspar Gutman, a rotund character in Hammett's 1930 novel, The Maltese Falcon, which has links to the Knights of Malta, so the Knights of St. John, played by Sidney Greenstreet in 1941. So this is 1941-1930, and this poem was written in 1909. Then somebody else, so Norman F. Ramsey, stated in his brief history of Project A that the early bomb ballistic test shapes designs were referred to as Thin Man and Fat Man by unspecified Air Force representatives for security reasons, so their communications over the phone sounded as if they were modifying a plane to carry Roosevelt, the Thin Man, and Churchill, the Fat Man. So here, Thin Man can refer to that bomb, but it could also refer to Roosevelt, and probably 11 billion other things. Dashiell Hammett was actually called Samuel Dashiell Hammett, but went by Dashiell. Maybe it sounded more enigmatic, but he did use the name Sam in a couple of his novels, or short stories or comic strips. He had originally worked at Pinkerton, which was an American private investigation agency, which was established in 1850 by Scottish-born American cooper, that's someone who makes barrels, Alan Pinkerton, and a Chicago attorney, Edward Rucker. It was originally called the Northwestern Police Agency and is a forerunner of the Secret Service because they were hired by Lincoln's General-in-Chief for protection and various things. They were also union busters, essentially. I thought that Northwestern was interesting because it's got the new in there. And there was something about this dude, Alan Pinkerton, wandering through a grove trying to find a wood, presumably. And he came across some activities which made him think, oh, I should do a detective agency. But I think the wandering through a grove is interesting. What's also interesting is they hired women because they were useful as spies, something that later discovered by the SOE in Second World War, including the one Kate Warne, who said women were useful in worming out secrets in many places. So there's kind of two prophecies there, the atomic bomb and Roosevelt's election. Those two things are entangled somehow. Although his cousin Theodore Roosevelt was president at the time of the poem being written. Also a slant reference to Theodora, explorer. Thanks for listening.